Do you want to hit us with that intro music?
The sweet, sweet intro music.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Bianca, and I got satellite rain because I just decided I wanted to kill my soul with stealth missions.
Wow. Okay. Hi, my name is Trent, and I found Sanctum on the side of the road and decided to adopt it and take it home with me that evening.
Oh, lovely.
And I forgot I owned that.
So this is a podcast where we just kind of very casually talk to you about games that we are trying to challenge ourselves to go through in our libraries, things that we have forgotten that we owned, things that we maybe consciously purchased but then promptly forgot about or just never played. So we're here to just tell you about our experiences playing them. And just to warm up, get the juices flowing, we like to talk about the best thing that we saw this week. So, Trent, what is the best thing you saw this week?
You might know what's coming.
Yeah?
Yeah. Best thing that I saw in the last week was definitely the film Parasite. And I know that I am super behind the times on this. But it was just added to Hulu recently. So I tucked myself in my little bed, put a laptop on me, and sat and watched Parasite and had no idea what was going on the entire time. And it was great. I emerged from the darkness of my room and was like, bruh, we have to watch it again this weekend because we watched it. I watched it the first time over a week ago. Yeah. In the middle of the week, I was like, we're going again.
Yeah.
Had to make Bianca join me in on that.
Yeah.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fascinating. It's strange. Super enjoyable. And then like at the end, it's like, I'm going to just hit you with some feelings. Like there's like one specific moment towards the end. I guess I'm not going to spoiler this, but like towards the end, there's like a letter of longing read. Trying to say this vaguely. Yeah. And like there's this whole like the culmination of the theme of the film, and I was like, I feel emotions suddenly that I wasn't prepared to feel. So I was like, that was very good. Yeah. So if you haven't watched it and you have Hulu, or if you don't have Hulu and could get yourself a free trial.
Oh, true.
Watch that shit.
True.
Watch that shit. Very good. It's like one of a couple things in recent times that have like lived up to the hype that I had received ahead of them. Like, yeah.
Yeah, Parasite did live up to the hype. It was good.
You liked it as well?
I did like it. I liked it. I thought it was really good. Like objectively, it's really good, and I really liked it. And I would watch it again. I'm not like raving about it. I just like don't have that much of an emotional pull towards it. But yeah, it was good and I would watch it again. I would be willing to own it, sort of thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. What was the best thing you saw this week?
Just a little thing. We like to do some crosswords at the end of the day sometimes, or sometimes in the middle of the day if we're done looking at screens.
Yeah.
And we finished a crossword like all on our own this week, without, cheating, because sometimes we need to kind of look at the back just for a little help if we're really struggling. And there was no cheating. We finished it in a pretty decent amount of time, and that just like made me happy.
I think you're underselling how much we just demolished this crossword.
You're right. We did absolutely demolish it. Like, to be fair, it was an easy one.
Yes, it was.
Okay, but I gotta say, the book markets itself as 200 easy crossword puzzles. There are so many of those puzzles that are not easy. I refuse to believe that they are easy. And when I want easy because I'm not good at crossword puzzles. I don't understand the clues a lot of times. I need easy puzzles. So this one just made me happy because it was indeed easy.
Yeah, and it's a fun feeling to just crush crosswords, especially after you have like a couple really challenging ones.
Yeah, we have the ones where we're like, we only have like 4 answers in the whole puzzle, and we're not even sure if any of them are right because like it's a 4-letter word, but there's 3 possibilities, and so you don't know what's right. But yeah, so the crossword was made me feel good.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah. So tell me about what you played this week.
So this week I played a game called Sanctum, which is a first-person shooter cross tower defense situation. It was originally released in 2011 by Coffee Stain Studio.
Oh, it's older than I thought it was.
It's very old, yeah. I think possibly I had played some of Sanctum 2 as well, which came out at a more reasonable time, like maybe while we were in college or something. Okay. But no, the original Sanctum is legit like 10 years old.
All right.
We
were in college in like 2010 to 2014, just by the way. 2014 to 2018.
There
Holy
you go.
shit. We were in high school 2010 and 2014
Yeah, I just gave this look of what?
This pandemic just really is messing with my brain.
Time
right
is
now.
an illusion. Anyway, so Sanctum, it's like a sci-fi aesthetic tower defense game where you are a person and you can run around and shoot things with guns as well. I was trying to come up with ways to describe the aesthetic of the monsters. So if you've never played a tower defense game, enemies spawn on one end of the map. And in this case, you build a maze on a gridded map to guide them through a gauntlet of death, essentially.
You're kind of like purposefully choosing the path to their demise.
Exactly. Yeah. So eventually it has to let out at like your end of your goal. If we're going to use a football metaphor, your goalposts. It has to get there eventually.
The end zone, if you will.
Exactly. And when they get to the end zone, they damage it, and if it goes to 0 health, then you lose. That's the gist of it. That's kind of the tower defense formula.
All right.
So I was trying to describe the aesthetic of the monsters that spawn in this game that make their way through your maze. And the only adjective I came up was lumpy, because God, these are some lumpy ass aliens. Like, like there's one that's just a pair of legs, and when you shoot it, it like curls up and it's like no. And then eventually it gets up and walks.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, they're very lumpy. I don't know. That's fine. That's like the least important thing, but worth mentioning. So just like with other tower defense games, you go through waves of enemies that come through, and in between waves, you can build new like defensive turrets and towers and other helpful utilities to help ward off the baddies. And you upgrade them; they go through upgrades. This one has like a decent variety of towers. There's some quirks about this that I'll get to later.
Okay.
But I've played a lot of tower defense games.
Yes.
I was a big fan of tower defense games back in like the Flash game era.
Yeah.
I spent so much freaking time on Flash game websites, and I played a lot of tower defense games.
Yeah, like that one that you were telling me about the other day.
Oh, Bloons?
Yeah.
With the monkeys?
I've never heard of before in my life.
Oh my, I can't believe it. Yeah, so you must not have been a Flash game player like I was.
Well, not with tower defense games.
But I mean, the original, I think I told you, the original Bloons was like you throw a dart and they bounce around puzzle game. Yeah. Those were like hugely popular. And then they branched off into tower defense.
Games. I mean, and other games as well. But
mostly Neopets.
If we're talking the computer, there's a lot of Neopets and a lot of Mahjong on the Mulan Storybook CD-ROM game.
That's very specific.
But I also
where's the Mulan Mahjong fandom at? Like,
yeah, seriously,
where's 2020 Mulan Mahjong?
Yeah, honestly, with Mushu kind of giving some commentary in the background.
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
It was great.
Yeah, I was actually gonna give some like old school tower defense recs, and one of them is Bloons Tower Defense 5 is the best, and the Gemcraft series is also very good.
Okay.
Tower defense, but the gimmick is the towers are gems that you can alchemize, merge, make, blend. I don't know, and they do different.
Transform into a new thing. Sure.
Doesn't matter at all. So I played a lot of standard tower defense games, and this one, because it's an FPS style tower defense, has some quirks, many of them good.
Okay.
So it's kind of a fun extra layer to be running around on the map you make. And you can jump in where necessary to add extra DPS or different kinds of support. I was usually playing with, there's a loadout that you pick for both towers and also for your weapons. So for weapons, I had like a fast shooty assault rifle thing and a sniper, and then like a freezy ball thing where you like huck a glowing blue orb at some enemies, and they like, if we're using the football metaphor, like put it under their arm and like trot off with it, and it makes them slower.
Sad.
So that's fine. One of the fun things they do with this is all of the enemies have like a weak spot on their models, like a glowing eye or something. It's always the red part on them. They're like a black and orange color scheme with some red.
Okay, so like all of them have this kind of like almost like blinker of like, this is where you want to hit me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So only really you as the player character can cash in on that though. So that's like a way you can influence the fight. Like some of them have armor everywhere except for a weak spot, so you do way more damage than your towers by shooting the weak spot with your sniper, for example. All right. So it gives you a little more control in terms of like being able to actually influence how the game goes. I sort of mentioned this already, but there's a pretty wide variety of different towers and equipment and stuff you can use, and you have a limited loadout. You can only pick, I think, like, depending on the map, 5 out of the 15 or so that there are.
Okay.
And this is cool, but I think causes problems.
All right.
So, for example, when you go into a map, you don't know what's gonna come up, so you don't know which ones you need. So there were several times where I got 4 rounds in, something new was thrown at me, and I was like, I literally don't have the equipment to deal with this. For example, like the armored guys I mentioned, the only tower that can deal any damage is like a drone tower.
Okay.
And I had been using that, but wanted to spice it up and try something different. So I dropped that, got 4 rounds into a map, and they showed up, and I was like, I cannot kill these by myself, and my towers do nothing. So I had to restart.
Oh, no.
There were several times that happened. And I think that... So the game tries to be fancy with its use of 3D space and add air enemies.
Ooh, okay.
Because you can't really do that in like, well, I mean, you can, but it's not... It doesn't have the same effect in like a 2D top-down tower defense. So they add air enemies. But I argue this is a mistake. Because there's only 2 towers that can target air enemies.
Okay.
Only 2 kinds. So there's like no variety. Like you have to bring both of those towers every time there are air enemies. And they also just bypass the whole maze thing.
Oh, so they can just fly around wherever they want?
They literally start in the air on the side of the map and float their way over to your side.
Oh.
So like that kind of defeats part of the whole gimmick of the game.
Right.
Like
because everything else has to conform to that maze.
Exactly. And then you run into problems where... And I was playing on normal difficulty. There's like 4 difficulties. I was playing on normal. You end up wasting a huge amount of your resources and like real estate on those 2 air towers because you get fucking trashed if you don't. Like I lost, what was it, like 75% of my health in one wave that was just air enemies because I didn't have enough air towers.
Oh no.
So it just kind of sucks. And it's even more annoying because there's 2 air towers. One is the only tower that does air and ground enemies.
Okay. And
it's just like a single shot, like kind of sniper situation, which is fine. But then the other one is like air only rocket launchers.
Whoa.
So those, which you need a bunch of because they're way better for the air enemies than the other thing, only get used every like 5th round.
Right. So you have all have air enemies every single round.
Yes. So it's just a bunch of like wasted real estate in space. And I found that very annoying and wish that was not the case. Like I get why like they try and balance it between the air and ground so you can't like go all in on the ground. But I think they could have made it a more even balance. It would have made it more fun if there were more options.
Sure.
And it felt like they were getting used more. Though, the one plus side to the flying enemies.
I'm ready.
Have you ever wished that you were in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs?
I mean, when... Yes, but when everything was still good and when the world wasn't like ending and there were pancakes like crushing buildings. Like I don't need that level of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Would I like the occasional storm where maybe it snows ice cream?
Okay, but what if it was just meatballs all the time?
Oh no, I don't want that.
I see. Okay, well, I have some bad news.
Oh,
so there's a particular flying enemy.
Yeah.
Homeboy just looks like a meatball, with dangling spaghetti and all.
Oh my God.
And they come in waves, in swarms.
So he doesn't look like a flying jellyfish. He looks like a flying meatball with spaghetti arms.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, yeah.
Oh.
So you're sitting there on your towers, trying to protect the realm or whatever it is you're doing. Of course. And you turn around, and the sky is black with meatballs dangling with spaghetti.
Oh, no. That's very overwhelming.
Yeah, but it was kind of a very unexpected moment, but one of the most evocative moments of my time with this game. So I appreciated that.
Do you wish that you had a storm of meatballs every now and then?
I'm going to say yes, but caveat with these particular meatballs were like basketball sized. So like I don't think that's going to crush infrastructure and change life as we know it. So that's cool.
Yeah.
If we had like the water tower sized meatballs, we might have more of a problem.
That's a problem. Yeah, I agree. That's a problem.
And then the last thing I was going to add.
Sure.
So you can do multiplayer in this game. And I think that would solve some of my problems with the game if you played in multiplayer.
Oh.
Because then you'd have more options. Instead of like only being able to bring in 5 towers, you can bring in ostensibly all of them because of your friends can have different loadouts.
Sure.
So that would be super fun. I wish I had friends to play with me.
Is it just online?
I think so. Yeah, because again, FPS, I don't think you could not do online.
Hey, Trent's friends, play Sanctum with him.
I think a couple y'all fuckers actually own it. I checked it. I checked on Steam.
Get on that Sanctum online co-op.
Yes. Yeah, I liked this game a lot. This is the first game I think I played for the pod where I like kept forgetting that I had a job to do. I was supposed to like taking notes.
Yeah.
I didn't. I just kept playing. I enjoyed it a lot.
That's
I came
wonderful.
back to it. It's a simple game. It's just the one game mode where you have your different maps and you go through them. Nothing complicated, but it does what it does pretty well. It's pretty fun. If you're looking for a tower defense game with something a little spicy or like a unusual FPS thing, you might like it.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah. So what'd you play this week?
I played Satellite Rain, which was developed by 5 Live Studios, and it was released in 2015. It's one of those games where you're kind of in this like futuristic world where there, some people are like cyber people. There's a lot of like high tech things. You can clone people to become, you take like their minds out of their bodies and turn them into clones. There's weird shit that goes on like that. So it's this like super like cyber tech kind of world, but still in the guise of like, a downtown, like a city, or at least what I played. So it's like, this kind of like mesh. I couldn't super tell what was going on because when I hit new game, it gives you this kind of like intro sequence, but it was in the style of like, here are different news clips and radio clips that are kind of overlapping each other, and we're just going to give you a couple sentences of each, and here's the story. And I'm like, that doesn't tell me what's happening. So there's some sort of expanding satellite network. There's corporate espionage involved, I think. I still couldn't really, once you actually were given a character in the tutorial and you were getting taught how to maneuver and all that, I still couldn't really tell what my role was in terms of the storyline. So I honestly don't really know what's happening in the game at all. Didn't explain that well. but it's one of those games where it's like a squad-based game. So over the tutorial, you gain multiple characters. So I think by the time that you're out of the tutorial, you have like four people under your control, and all of them have different like abilities, and you just kind of like sneak around everywhere and like complete missions stealthily. Um,
Okay.
is what I got out of it. Um, yeah, I mean, a lot of the time I spent on the game was mostly the tutorial. The second I got out of the tutorial was when I started dying immediately and lost all my money. And because apparently money matters when you die and need to respawn, that didn't get explained to me that well either. The combat, this is kind of like one of my like dislikes, one of my critiques is like the AI is like a little janky. um you have to babysit your characters a lot because there's no auto combat system. You have to tell the characters to shoot something, so if something starts shooting you, they won't shoot back, which is kind of annoying. They also, there's kind of some pathway issues, so if you're telling a character to kind of walk somewhere kind of far on the map, they might not go the way that you want them to go. So you need to do like shorter distances or kind of babysit them more to make sure they go the way that you want. Just like little things like that. And also, I had a character get stuck inside a wall, and I was in the tutorial, and so I couldn't get her out of the wall, and I couldn't progress without this character. And because you're in the tutorial, or like, I don't even know if a lot of other games do this. There's someone like talking outside in our alley. Okay. Um, um, I was in the tutorial and I was like, maybe if I like exit out of the game and then re-enter the game, you know, she'll be outside of whatever wall she's in. I couldn't save the game because it was like, you're in the tutorial, you're not allowed to save the game. And I'm like, in what world? What?
It wasn't expecting you to fuck up that bad.
No, apparently not. Well, it's its own fault for being buggy like that. So that was like a little sad. Also, the other thing is like the enemy sight cones are wonky as hell because they have the like cops and drones and things. They all have these little like flashlights kind of. And so in my mind, from some other games that I've played, the light that might be attached to an enemy, especially if it's like a nighttime thing, that's kind of their sight line. That's not how it works in this game. You can still be crouching behind a barrier, and if the cop passes by you on the same side, he will see you. And that just seems wrong to me.
Wait. On the same side?
Yes.
Meaning, like, you and him are on the same side of the barrier.
No, like, you're on, like, I mean, if it's, like, a two-way street.
A two-way street.
And the concrete barrier is, say, on the right side of the street. And you are on one side of the barrier. The cop is walking on the other side of the barrier. So he's not walking to where you're open, but he's still walking on the right side of the street along the barrier, rather than the left side of the street where there's just more distance between you. Mm-hmm. He'll still see you. Which was whack to me. And I think if, and I even looked at the, like, because they, in the tutorial, it kind of tells you, like, how to do things, but they don't really explain to you why you need to do things in a certain way, which I think is really what I needed. Because it'll just be like, use this button to do this, use this button to use this skill, use this button to do this. And I'm like, great, but I don't know in what situations this is most useful. And they give you a whole log of like, here's all the different tutorial stuff you need to know. Here's all the stuff about cloning. Here's all the stuff about the skills. And I don't want to read all of that.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And so I looked at that log for stuff about the enemies and sightlines and stuff. And there was like no good information on what triggers them. It was basically just like, don't let them see you. And I'm like, well,
cool,
great. I'll try my best, but obviously it didn't work out so well for me because, as we've discussed previously, I'm very bad at stealth games, and this is all that game was. So that part I was a little upset with.
A
Yeah.
little, I feel like, is a bit of an understatement. Like
I was close to rage quitting more than once playing this game. More than once.
I've never heard Bianca get so fired up about a game.
I was so mad playing this game because I'm not good at stealth, and I was trying so hard. I was trying so hard, Trent, and it just wasn't working. Nothing was going my way, and the things that matter about the game are janky, so it was just being messed up even more, and I just was not having a good time at all.
Yeah.
And like the waypoints on the maps are pings, and so even if I were like, because once I finally got past this really dumb thing that I died so many times doing, and I was like, I'll just do this like side quest thing, because apparently these beacons are the save points. I didn't realize that until later. So I was like, oh, let me do a side quest so you can like ping things.
Sure.
But it's just literally giant orange, like radiating pings on the map. Mm-hmm. So it won't actually tell you like exactly where something is. You just kind of have to like wander around in the hopes that you maybe see it. I barely saw what I was looking for. So the targets, the pinpoints on the map are also very vague. There's a lot of vagueness in this game.
Yeah, it feels like it's trying to lean more into like a role-playing situation. Is that accurate?
No, it's pretty... I don't think so, because it's pretty strategy. Like there's a whole plot line that you do, and you're not like necessarily like role-playing a character or anything. You just have different characters that have different skill sets, and you have to just navigate the world with their skill sets, but not like... I wouldn't say there's like a role-playing element to it.
Okay.
That all aside, those are my biggest gripes about the game. I will say the art style is pretty cool. The game looks pretty cool. It's a very like grungy, dirty downtown feel.
It's very like cyberpunk, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it was really cool looking. Honestly, all the like tech stuff involved in the game was pretty cool too and creative. There's you hijack things, and you can like, I didn't realize this until later yet again, because I didn't really understand how much money mattered until too late. But you can like siphon ATMs, so you have an influx of money.
Yeah.
So that's like cool. And the cloning people, which the tutorial was just like, here, click these buttons to clone someone. Didn't tell me why I would need to clone someone, so I'm not sure, again, why I would need to do that. Why is that useful to me in this game? But that's some cool thing that you can do in the game.
You don't just want like an army of minions at your disposal?
I mean, I suppose that's kind of the point, just to switch out whenever you need them, maybe. But yeah, I don't really understand what the point was, especially for that quest line. So that was that. All the tech stuff is pretty cool. And what was also interesting is that like each character kind of has their own skill tree, because when you level up, you get a point to be able to upgrade skills. But the like woman that you start with has a different set of available skills that she can learn than like the hacker that you get later on in the tutorial. So if you want to, say, give someone the skill for hijacking or whatever, not all of your characters will even be able to learn that. So you have to very strategically decide who gets what point delegated to what skill, which I think is pretty cool. I found out that this game has an online co-op mode. And I think I would have a better time playing it as a co-op campaign. Because for me, having to take care of 4 characters and like really babysit them and like make sure they're all doing what I want them to do, that was kind of a lot. But if I was playing with at least one other person and we each had like 2 characters or something, I think that would be a lot more manageable, and perhaps the game would go a little bit better. I don't know.
Because you're responsible for less stealth.
Yeah. And also after having a couple days of cooldown from being very fired up about it, I do feel willing to try my hand at this game again. I feel okay skipping the tutorial and just starting out at where I was really fucking up, which makes me kind of afraid to start again because I did so poorly with that. And I know that's the first thing I would need to do right after the tutorial. Like, that's where it would drop me, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't really want to do that again. But now that I have a better understanding of how the money works and I have some ideas for how I could have done things differently, I think I could have a better time of it. Maybe. I don't know. It's still, me and stealth games do not mix. So it's really hard. It was so hard. I was just so mad. I was so mad the whole time. But for people who like this type of game, I think it might be a fun playthrough. It's got some kinks that it needs to work out, so be prepared to have some kind of bugginess sort of thing. But like, it's got a cool concept. So, yeah. What would you rate Sanctum?
Let's see. Sanctum, I think, is good overall. Enjoy, would recommend. I'll give it 4 floating meatballs out of 5.
All right. I think I would give Satellite Rain. I think I would give it a 7 siphoned ATMs out of 10.
All right.
Objectively, I think better than Batman. Especially if going by the fact that Batman Arkham Origins is the worst of the other Batmans. So, yeah, I'll give it 7 out of 10 siphoned ATMs. Cool. All right. Well, this is it for this week. Thanks for tuning in to I Forgot I Owned That. Next week, I will be playing Dark Souls. Very excited.
And I'll be playing something called Gravity Ghost.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you to play this.
Oh, you know what this is. I don't.
Yeah, I beat the game.
Oh, well, good for you.
Yeah, it's really quick.